Hey guys, this is Marc Goldberg from Marc Vlogs Watches. Thank you. Welcome back to another exciting episode. I really appreciate your being here, and please throw a like on this video if you enjoy it by the end, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that yet. Anyway, let's move right into the topic, which is going to be viewer mail. And today I'm going to read you a letter from Aaron, and he is responding to my video about how to make relationships with an authorized dealer, because these days purchasing retail on a Rolex is your best hope. To many people it feels like winning the lottery, but there are strategies that you can employ, particularly if you're a sincere person and really relationship oriented. There are strategies that you can employ to give you a slight edge. So I'll put a link to that video in the description of this one right here. But now let's jump into Aaron's letter. Hey Mark, first and foremost, I want to say that I am a longtime fan of your YouTube content. I enjoy your videos quite a bit, and I can definitely relate to the watch OCD. Thank you, Aaron. I saw your most recent video regarding building a relationship with a Rolex authorized dealer, and I wanted to share my story with you here as opposed to email because it's a little bit lengthy. I saw your most recent video regarding building a relationship with a Rolex AD, and I wanted to share my story with you by email rather than in the comments because it's a little bit lengthy. To give you a bit of context, I live in the Phoenix metro area, which is home to 5 ADs. Near the end of last year, I set my sights on obtaining a Hulk. Oh, heck, that reminds me. I completely forgot the quick wristwatch check. Let's knock that out right now. Sadly, it's not a Hulk, but here it is. Today I am wearing a watch that so many of you said I was going to flip, and I haven't. Of course, you said I'd flip it by Labor Day, and we're not quite there yet. Anyway, here it is. It is the Grand Seiko Diver, 44 millimeters of glorious Zaratsu polishing. Okay, back to Aaron's letter. To give you a bit of context, I live in the Phoenix metro area, which is home to 5 ADs. Near the end of last year, I set my sights on obtaining a Hulk. I know this would be a bit of a challenge because I never purchased from an AD prior, and that the Hulks were getting harder to obtain. I visited 4 out of the 5 authorized dealers and inquired about the watch. The AD that I decided to build a relationship with was a smaller store that is family run. I worked directly with the owner and his son. When I first came into the store, I wore my first generation James Cameron. I have that one too. Congratulations, Aaron, that's a great watch. I wore my first generation James Cameron, which I previously purchased privately. My wife and I came into their store about once or twice a month after the first visit. I think bringing my wife into the store helped because while I was super interested in watches, she could bring up conversation topics that didn't center around just watches. I first got on the list in November and ended up getting offered the Hulk in March. So that wasn't really a terribly long time on the list. Good for you. After buying the Hulk, and at the recommendation of my wife, I wrote a thank you card, which meant a lot to the owner. And additionally, when my wife's birthday came up in June, I bought her a pair of earrings from the authorized dealer since the owner mentioned that several of his Rolex customers only seem to buy watches from him. On top of that, whenever I go into his store, I usually make an effort to wear the Hulk to show that I haven't flipped it. So to relate back to the topic of the video, this was how I was able to obtain a harder to find watch and build a relationship with an authorized dealer. I look forward to the next video. Sincerely, Aaron. Aaron, I'm not gonna use your last name, but thank you for the letter. I think there are several points here that I want to go back over and reference that I think actually count and are important. So first, you realized that there were 5 authorized dealers in your metropolitan area, and you zeroed in on the smaller family-run store where you were able to deal actually with upper management, including the owner or the owners. You know what? Frankly, I think that's critical. The authorized dealer that I deal with, I've dealt with 2 here in the Chicago metro area. One is large and corporate, and I'm not going to reference their name because I have nothing against them. I bought a watch from them back in the late 80s. But since then, they really haven't hardly given me the time of day, whereas I have had successful dealings with a small family-run, tiny little chain of jewelers in the Chicago metro area. It just so happens that the guys that I'm dealing with are James and Sons in the Chicago area. And frankly, I think there's a big difference between going into a corporate run versus a family run store. So the corporate guys, the advantage of them is maybe they get more watches. So nothing against them. But I, like you, I'm a little more comfortable talking to the owner or upper management, and I think that that's really important because you're dealing with somebody who has an actual stake in the business. So first, I think that was a good decision right there. The second thing you did that I think is right is you wore the James Cameron into the store when you went. And, part of me wants to say, gee, that's silly. But frankly, I have walked into many authorized dealers wearing various types of watches because, I don't always know that I'm going to stop into an AD if there just happens to be one in my path of destruction. I'm definitely stopping in. And I think that there's a huge difference between when you walk in there with a Rolex or a really, really high-end watch and when you don't. There are very few places in the world where someone's going to Google, to see what kind of watch that you're wearing. But they are definitely going to do that at an authorized dealer of watches. Somebody who's really familiar with the Grand Seiko line might take a look at this and give it its due. I think it's a lovely watch. Certainly, it's an expensive luxury watch, whether you like the brand or not. But quite frankly, if I was trying to be serious in a Rolex authorized dealer, I would absolutely wear a Rolex. And I have gone into authorized dealers wearing my Batman or my Sky Dweller. And so if you have a Rolex and you're interested in another one and you're going into authorized dealers, yeah, that's good news. Absolutely, you want to wear your Rolex. I mean, look how nice and methodical Aaron was about this. There was nothing arrogant in his approach. It was just good old-fashioned face-to-face, be nice, bring your wife, form a relationship. So not everybody has a wife or wants to bring one, but I'll tell you what, Aaron, I think your strategy was a good one. Then when they got you a watch, which they did, honestly, they did that in fairly short order. When they got you a Hulk, you sent a thank you note. I think, quite frankly, I wouldn't have thought of that, but man, I think next time next time I buy a watch from an authorized dealer, I'm going to do that. That's how good I think your idea is. And the reason is, in this day and age, nobody writes letters anymore. Thank you notes, I mean, that's something that maybe somebody sends after their wedding, for their wedding gifts, only in super formal occasions. It's a lost art, and so I think it's something that would really be noticed, and I think that little touch of gratitude probably counts for a lot, because the authorized dealers know what a precious commodity that they are dealing with right now, but the public at large probably doesn't. So I gotta say, good on you for that thank you note. That was really just a lovely idea. I'm stealing that one, Aaron. The next thing that you have done that I approve of is that you continue to wear that Hulk into the store to show that you haven't flipped it. I think that's very important. There are a lot of authorized dealers who have lost their Rolex contract in the last 12 to 14 months. And I have reports of this all over the world. In fact, the rumor is that about 50 of them lost their contract for distribution of Rolex here in the United States alone. And one of the things that is causing authorized dealers to come under Rolex scrutiny from Geneva for their distribution rights is flipping. So I think wearing it there is really a great idea, and that's something that I would also do. And then finally, the last thing that I can compliment you on, there are many here. I probably sound like I'm just in love with you, Aaron, but I'm really just approving of how you handled everything. And that is rare, guys. You should see some of the mail I get where I got to scratch my head and oy. But Aaron hit the nail on the head with this one, because then when he wanted to buy his wife a gift, he went in and got her earrings. And listen, the margin on that kind of stuff is much higher than it is on watches, and it turns you into I think, if you buy a little something from your authorized dealer, or a big something that isn't watch related, it turns you into an entirely different level of customer, a higher level, somebody who has a more well-rounded relationship with the authorized dealer. Why is that important? Well, because how many watches do people buy in a lifetime? I mean, how many Rolexes are you really going to buy? On the one hand. On the other hand, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, birthdays, Christmas, I mean, those things are constantly coming up. So you're going to have a much more regular need to purchase gifts in the diamond, gold, silver, earrings, necklace, bracelet, charms, you know, that kind of category. And that will keep you coming into the store, and that is going to make you a whole lot better, a more important customer than somebody who comes in once every 5 years for an impossible to get steel sports Rolex. So this has been an interesting letter. I hope that you guys have found it useful. I know that you also will have stories about how you tried and failed at authorized dealers. You'll have stories about how you tried and succeeded. I would be interested in hearing those, so please leave me your information in the comments. I want to thank you once again for joining me. And hey, I have not flipped my Rolex Sea Dweller 50th anniversary, proved that I haven't flipped the Grand Seiko. So here's a quick look at my Rolex 50th anniversary. And in the meantime, this is Goldberg. Peace out.